Can you accept what's happening and let go of what you cannot control, right? Accept that you're in your 30s and not your 20s. Accept that your body is different than it was 10 years ago. Don't fight against it, accept it. Because all of the messages around you, all those messages are telling you to fight it. And that just keeps you miserable and keeps you stuck.
Welcome to the Injured Athletes Club podcast, the show that helps athletes cope with sports injuries and bounce back stronger. I'm journalist Cindy Kozma.
And I'm mental skills coach Carrie Jackson. We're sorry you're here, but we're glad you're with us.
This week, once again, Coach Carrie is going to use her skills as a certified mental performance consultant to answer a question from one of you, our listeners and injured athletes. But before we get to that, we wanted to share an important resource with you, one that's directly related to what we're going to talk about this week.
Yes, that's right. So if you head over to buymeacoffee.com/rebound, you will see that we have all kinds of resources lined up there for you. So in addition to the option of just buying us a cup of coffee to support the podcast and the work that Cindy and I do, because we do both love coffee, by the way, but you also can get access to all kinds of resources over there. And one in particular we wanted to highlight because of today's topic is a recording of our Aging and Athletic Performance webinar. So about annually, we will host these webinars that touch on different topics that we've heard from you that you want more knowledge on. And so we pull together panels of experts to talk about these topics. And this one in particular was all about aging and athletic performance. So your competitive drive and love for your sport and dedication to train doesn't change just because you enter your master's years. So we thought it would be a really great idea to bring together these experts to talk about different ways to fuel and train and prevent injury and recover from injury to make sure that you are maintaining that mental and physical edge that you want at no matter what age and no matter where you're at in your athletic journey. So head over to our Buy Me a Coffee page /rebound in order to get access to that webinar.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Carrie. And also thanks to Lever Movement. This season of the Injured Athletes Club is brought to you by Lever Movement. They are the creators of the Lever System, a portable lightweight device that attaches to the treadmill to reduce your body weight. That means less impact on your joints, so you can come back from injury safely or even prevent getting hurt in the first place. You can use the Lever System at home or take it with you to the gym. It's super portable, and you can set it up there in less than 2 minutes. I don't know if they're timing that, but very fast, very simple. I've seen a lot of people do it, actually. Use code INJURED20 to get 20% off any device at levermovement.com. So check out Lever today and take your training to the next level. Right. And with that, let's get on to this week's question. So this comes from listener Kelly, who asks, how do I adjust my training mindset now that I'm a master's athlete? I have a hard time accepting that my body is no longer 20. I'm 35, about to turn 36. Well, Kelly, first of all, I have to say, wait till you get to your mid-40s. Age is all relative, and we are all we were all born at different times, so we're aging at different rates, and Coach Carrie is going to tell us all about how to adapt our mindset to adjust for that fact.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So, and we recognize that this question is a little different than some of the other questions we usually answer on our Q&A episodes, but this topic comes up for us quite a bit, hence the webinar that we put on about aging and athletic performance. And I definitely get asked questions like this with my one-on-one coaching clients as well. And in fact, like this year, I even did a whole webinar on it for a group of cyclists because navigating this transition can be really challenging. So although the question isn't injury specific, I will say there is a lot of crossover between how we navigate the experience as an aging athlete and how we might navigate the experience of being an injured athlete. The question that comes up with my clients often revolves around the idea of how can I live with the fact that all of my PRs might be behind me? Like those exact words have come out of multiple people's mouths of clients that I've worked with of like, I'm not sure what does my relationship to my sport look like now? And how can I continue to feel like a quote unquote athlete and feel competitive when I recognize that things might be changing? So, and that can be a similar experience for when you're injured and wonder, am I going to be the same athlete that I was before I got injured? the underlying theme of being injured and of aging is that we are in fact vulnerable. How do we accept the inevitable fact that we live in an aging body that has limits, especially when we are bombarded with messages about anti-aging and longevity? I mean, just think about the word anti-aging, right? We see aging as a threat instead of an evolution of who we are. So that's a bigger conversation probably, but so it just starts with this is a kind of like a big, big topic and a big conversation and something that is really important to me. So, but really when we got this question, the two biggest things that came to mind for me with this topic is that it challenges how you relate to your athletic identity, and it challenges how you choose to define success. And those things may need to be an evolution, right? Both of those, right? How you relate to your athletic identity and how you're choosing to define success require psychological flexibility, meaning your willingness and ability to adapt to changing circumstances, like being an aging athlete, by shifting your reactions, your behaviors, and your perspectives. But instead of engaging in psychological flexibility, we often engage in time traveling instead. So, when you start recognizing or even contemplating changes in your body, it's ripe for time travel. So what I mean by that is it's very easy and very natural in those moments to find yourself time traveling into the past and thinking about what you used to be able to do, and also time traveling into the future and wondering how long you'll be able to perform to the level that you're performing now. And when you're time traveling, basically what you're doing is engaging in comparison. So there's two different types of comparison that happens. One is social comparison, and the other is temporal comparison. So social comparison is when you're comparing yourself to others, aka Strava, right? So you're seeing how am I doing relative to other people that I sort of am identifying with. And then temporal comparison is when you compare your current status to another version of yourself, inevitably a younger version of yourself, hence that term temporal. So the first thing I want to say is I think sometimes people automatically assume that engaging in comparison is a bad thing, but there's actually an evolutionary purpose for doing it. It's totally normal to engage in comparison. The problem is that we often aren't using it for that evolutionary purpose. Instead of using it as an assessment tool, we use it as a measuring stick for our own shortcomings and then internalize that in a negative way, aka self-doubt, imposter syndrome, etc. Right? So when you only look for what's going wrong, that is all you'll see. And you cannot build confidence on a steady diet of self-criticism. Right? So it's really important to kind of recognize if I find myself engaging in comparison, what am I doing with that information? So when you're a master's athlete and you're navigating this transition, sometimes comparison is answering the wrong question. Instead of seeking out comparison, you need to seek out clarity. So comparison answers the question, where do I stand? And clarity answers the question, what do I need? Right? So that really makes sure that you are honoring the present moment, right? And recognizing, what do I need in this moment right now? So in our book Rebound, we talk about this idea of the 3 A's, which are accept, adapt, act. Can you accept what's happening and let go of what you cannot control? Right? Accept that you're in your 30s and not your 20s. Accept that your body is different than it was 10 years ago. Don't fight against it. Accept it, because all of the message around you, all those messages are telling you to fight it. And that just keeps you miserable and keeps you stuck. Right? So accept is that first piece. And once you accept this fact, you can adapt by changing your reactions to what's happening. And you can act and do what you can right now to create the best possible future, right? So you are still an athlete. What does your athletic life look like now? You could still experience a sense of deep accomplishment how do you define success now? Don't use outdated definitions. What is the true goal of participating in sport? You know what, as I was like thinking about answering this question, and this idea of how we sometimes really get stuck in certain definitions and what it means to be an athlete and how we define success. And it reminded me of one of my favorite quotes. It's from a Tao philosopher, Shuangzi, and the quote, and it's just something that really, from the very second I saw it, and actually I saw it, it was like a calendar of like motivational quotes and cool photography, which I also love photography. And it was just, and I was so struck by it. Like I pulled it out. I wonder if I still have it. And it was framed in my office for many, many years. And the quote goes, "A road is made by people walking on it. Things are so because they are called so. What makes them so? Making them so makes them so. What makes them not so? Making them not so makes them not so." So what this quote means is you create the meaning of the experience, right? So if this, is the worst thing that's ever happened, then it's the worst thing that's ever happened, right? You've made it so, and now it is so, right? You walked on that road, and so now that road exists, right? So you get to decide the meaning of the sport, no matter where you're at, right? No matter what level, no matter where you're at in your athletic journey, you create the meaning. Nobody else gets to do that for you. But oftentimes we really get hooked by other people's creations of the meaning, right? And other people's definitions and other people's ideas about what it means to be an athlete. So really make sure that you're tuning into the fact that you are in evolution. You're not meant to stay stagnant. And part of that is hard because part of this idea of like, you're grieving what you were able to do before. You're grieving that path that maybe you're not able to take anymore. But that doesn't mean that there isn't another glorious, meaningful, powerful, impactful path that you get to go down.
Wow. I love that, Coach Carrie. Thank you so much. That idea of comparison and versus clarity is one that I know is going to stick with me. And I have to say, too, that Coach Carrie gave me some tips for an article I wrote about this similar topic for Runner's World. And I'll put a link in the show notes because I was struggling with this a little bit during a recent marathon that I finished. And I think there is such a rich conversation to be had here about how we accept these changes in our lives. So I thank you for kicking this off because, yes, Coach Carrie, I do feel like this is something you probably have even more to say about down the line. So Kelly, thank you so much for asking the question. And Carrie, thanks for the answer. Thanks to Jeremy Nessel for editing the show and to Emma Coomer for our graphics and to all of you for listening. We are also grateful to Lever Movement, our sponsor, for making the show possible. Don't forget to click through to levermovement.com, check it out, and use the code INJURED20 for 20% off if you want to buy a lever system. If you would like to submit a question for an upcoming episode, if there's something you're struggling with and you think Coach Carrie probably has the perfect quote to address, you can email us at hello@injuredathletesclub.com. Visit our Facebook page or join our Facebook group, which is also called the Injured Athletes Club. And that group, by the way, if you're not already a member, we highly recommend you join. It is full of people who are going through things just like this, and they get it, and people share advice and support, and it's just a wonderful place to be. So you can get links to that on our website, injuredathletesclub.com. Thanks, and we'll see you there.